What's up, grinders? Welcome back to the channel. In my 1K Dreaming Spanish update video, I randomly off the cuff asked if you guys want me to go back and do a react to my original video from over a year ago, back before I actually started trying to do Dreaming Spanish. And in that video, I spoke about my thoughts about learning via this method before I had actually gone out and learnt via this method. And a bunch of you asked me to basically go back, do a react, see if my thoughts have changed in any way. So that's what we're going to do right now. Now, this is 23 minutes long, so I hope you're ready for a long one. What's up, grinders? So today... Okay, first up, let's kill that. Let's speed me up. I do not want to listen to me on normal speed because that would be annoying. And holy shit, was I fat back then. Look at that, bro. Bro, I was... What weight class were you in? Jesus, and look at your hair. What the fuck? You guys willingly watch this? God. See, now I've got the turtleneck. It hides all that. Today we're going to do a review of
Oh Jesus, this is quiet. Time. Now, before we jump into the review, I've got a few things to say. Now, I'm actually seriously considering using Dreaming Spanish to learn Spanish for a number of reasons. The first one being that I often receive comments where people say, you haven't learnt via CI, pure CI, so how can you talk as an authority on this? Despite the fact that I've done 390 hours of pure CI for Chinese. So I figure, at the end of the day, after my hard Chinese grind, I might actually, I don't know why I said it like that, I might actually do 1 hour a day of Dreaming Spanish, and then a few years from now, I'll be able to talk as more of an authority on this because I would have learnt a language without...
A few years from now? Bro, no, you started with like 50 hours, you're like, I know what I'm doing. And then you started dropping 50-hour updates. Yeah, waiting a few years, bro. There was no silent period when it came to critiques.
Anything else, simply using CI. Now, I am also well aware of the fact that this won't be a very valid test because I'm already very fluent in Esperanto. I speak English and I've dabbled with Latin, so this will pretty much be a cakewalk for me.
Pretty much a cakewalk. You poor Summer's child. Like, there was times that this was painful to get through. Yeah, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
Be a time investment overall. So why did I speak Spanish, or why did I pick Spanish as opposed to like a different language? Well, for one, Dreaming Spanish is right there. Like the whole website's built out. They've got like 790 hours of content ready to go. I don't have to think about this. I don't want to plan for this. This is not Chinese. I'm not going to actively like try too hard to do anything here because...
See, I was doing it right. I'm not going to try. According to the Automatic Language Growth Methodology, ALG, on which Dreaming Spanish is based, you're not meant to try. I was in the right headspace from the very beginning.
This is not a language that I truly care about. This is more like a testing of the methodology. And I'm also...
Oh, by the way, that whole thing, that one statement, this is not a language I truly care about. Boy, oh boy, do people keep hounding on about that. Whenever I've got detractors and stuff, they're like, oh, well, he doesn't care about Spanish. That's why he sucks. No, I suck just because I'm bad at languages. No. But I do want to say that was true when I started. But now, there's no way in hell, even if I stopped this challenge, I would stop with Spanish. Like, I actually enjoy learning the language now. It has grown on me like a cancerous tumor at this point. Like, when did that all start? I'm not sure when it started. I think it probably started when I started doing gaming collabs with other YouTubers and stuff. It was probably at that point where I was like, yeah, you know what? I vibe with this shit. I like this shit. So, I actually do enjoy learning Spanish now. Even though it all started as a challenge, I actually do enjoy the process.
I'm kind of just interested to see what it feels like to learn a language without actually putting in any active work at all. So why don't I choose like a different language then? One where I'm not going to get some like inherent benefit. Well, people suggested Korean. I actually did 5 hours of Korean already.
Oh, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, Korean is a language that has like freaking no material for this style of methodology.
Various playlists for learning Korean via comprehensible input, but the people who are teaching it, they clearly don't know how to teach using this methodology, or at least they don't know how to teach it very well, because it was a struggle getting through those 5 hours. And
could you imagine if I went Korean, where we would be today? Well, technically, we would be halfway through the silent period, so I still would not be speaking. It would be a whole year yet before I would actually start speaking if I was doing Korean. But in a parallel universe somewhere, there's another Evildea out there, but he's doing Korean. For all you Korean lovers, those learning Korean right now, you're probably kicking yourself that you didn't go down in the comment section and be like, Evildea, no, don't do Spanish, do Korean. See, if you all signed up and subbed to the channel early on, that's what you should be doing, subbing right now, so that when I decide to start new challenges, you have an impact. You could have swayed me. We could have been doing Japanese right now. But no, this is all your fault.
Also, my Chinese helped quite a bit in some cases. So it wouldn't be a fair judgment anyway, because, for example, one number system is basically just like, because Korean has two ways of counting. Basically, one of the number systems is basically Chinese, just with some variants to it. And finally, this will take me from being trilingual to a polyglot. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know that's a dirty word over here, polyglot. This is me just kind of making fun of it. You know, I kind of enjoy doing this because, you know, you've got those YouTube channels that really take this shit seriously. Like they join those hyper polyglot associations and they put the term hyper polyglot and shit in their title and stuff. So I kind of like to pick on this stuff.
Yeah, baby. So for me, this will be quite funny because obviously I speak English, Esperanto, and Chinese, but then I would speak finally one last language, and no longer just being a disgusting trilingual speaker, I can take the sacred right of calling myself a polyglot. And by doing that, I can then set on my path, my villain arc of selling you guys the most expensive, useless courses you can possibly imagine.
Oh, that's right. I still got to do that. Fuck. Man, I'm falling behind the game.
So, watch me as I bend and become your worst enemy. No, I'm joking. Let's begin.
So far, I've cracked over 800.
Oh, okay. I totally forgot that this was a react. So we're reacting to someone who at the time had 841 hours. Okay. I'm over 1K hours now. This is going to be interesting.
Hours using Dreaming Spanish. Is it any good? Does it work? What can you expect at each level?
So I've done 1,000 hours of Chinese. This will be interesting to see.
Well, I've watched every single Dreaming Spanish video in the...
Wow, I'd only done 1,000 hours at that point. I'm at like 1,400 and maybe 50 or something hours now. I can't remember. So that just shows that Spanish literally took over my entire life. And you know why I think that happened? Because I definitely put way more hours into Spanish than I do Chinese, although now it's kind of evened out. Now we're doing about 2 hours per language. But I think what happened was I started my challenge. The challenge, you guys fucking love the challenge. And then I was like, okay, cool. So I kept doing it. And then I kind of discovered something about myself was that when I publicly commit to doing these types of challenges, it makes me more prepared to do this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, cause like I've got all you guys watching. So like I put in a lot more effort, and I think as a result, Chinese got pushed to the side, although I was doing a little bit every single day.
The Spanish from Spain, as well as an absolute ton of the Latin American ones too. So I'm going to walk you through the platform.
This is crazy that like all these videos that I'm seeing right now, I've watched all of them.
Sorry, I'm just looking at this, and obviously this is the Day of the Dead, but this brings back like almost sad memories for me because I almost convinced my wife for us to do a zombie wedding. Like, I swear to God, she was on board until someone like from her friends said something, and then she was like, all not on board anymore.
Missed fucking opportunity, man. I'm still pissed about that. We could have... You guys don't understand. Like, we were literally going to have a zombie wedding. Like, everyone was going to come as zombies. My friends were all on board. My family was on board. And then one of her besties was like, oh, you can't do that. Zombies represent death. Fucking hell.
And I was so sad because we almost had a full zombie wedding.
And my experience. So for context, I have been using Dreaming Spanish for about a year now, so the 800 hours that I've got has been in just over 12 months. That number also includes the time I spent not only using Dreaming Spanish videos, but also using Spanish Uncovered, as well as some crosstalk lessons, podcasts and YouTube, but the vast majority of...
So if I actually do this, and you'll know if I actually do this because I'll start uploading like progress videos as I go, you know, maybe 100 hours, 200 hours. I don't know when I should be uploading progress videos, but I will make sure to avoid any form of any other study, just be pure CI, because I want to be able to talk about that from a position of authority in a few years.
Of that number.
Bro, look at this guy. He tells you how it is, then he goes and does it. He goes and does it. You're my man. I love you, Mr. Balding, fucking Australian dude.
Has been using Dreaming Spanish. So you know the general format. Pablo or one of the tutors, guides, hosts, whatever we're saying. Anyway, they'll talk about something only in Spanish and they'll make it more comprehensible by drawing or explaining it or varying the vocabulary depending on your level. The premise is based on comprehensible input. You focus on understanding the message and the content is adapted for you. And then hopefully you'll naturally understand.
So one thing I personally believe about comprehensible input is if you actually do speak a number of languages, especially ones that are related to your next target language, then it's probably not that bad of a methodology. But I still reckon it would be way more faster to just learn the language via active methodologies.
Understand the language without having to resort to...
Do I still agree with that statement? I would say yes, although there is edge cases. Like, for example, if you speak Spanish, maybe doing the pure input method to Portuguese would actually just be faster. But, like, I don't know. I'm making assumptions there. By the way, when I say active methodologies, I don't just mean, you know, scrapping CI. I literally always have to say this. Like, CI, comprehensible input, is part of any solid language learning methodology out there. Like, it's a big portion of it, okay? So just take that as a given. I mean, like, doing something else along with it.
Translation. Pablo explains the theory behind this if you want to know about it on the methods section of the website. Basically, our brains form a model of the language in our head without us consciously having to force it. So with enough input, we can acquire all of the language, including all of the grammar. So if you're watching the videos and you're not sure if you're learning anything, something very cool happened to me early on in using it that made me realize.
I've actually seen a lot of videos of people who have done the Dreaming Spanish actual method. So I've seen videos of people at 300 hours, 500 hours, 1,500, 2,000 hours. And basically they start speaking around the 1,500 hour mark, which would probably be like 2 years from now for me.
How
3 years assuming Esperanto helps a lot and doing 1 hour a day. Man, I totally underestimated like the commitment I was going to like undertake with this challenge. When did I swap the 3 hours? I think the first 50 hours I did 1 hour a day, but I did not feel progression. Like I didn't feel it in my bones. So I was like, man, I'm gonna up this number, and I upped it to like 2 hours a day, and then I was like, let's try one more hour per day. And then at 3 hours a day is when I actually felt, you know, week by week that I was making progress. And I feel like if I tried to stick to 1 hour a day, and this is not me telling you guys what to do, I feel like personally for me, it just would have been too slow. And I probably would have given up. I had to take it up in hours just to get that feedback of actual improvement.
powerful it is. So I was very much a beginner when my brother-in-law's wife, which I think in English is my sister-in-law, I'm not sure, let me know in the comments, she said in Spanish to my niece, come sus fresas, which means eat your strawberries. And in that moment I was like, I didn't have to think, comer. Yeah, I remember that's comer, tus, which is yours, fresas, so strawberries. Oh yeah, that's eat your strawberries, by which time everybody's finished eating and they've left the room. Instead of that, come sus fresas. Boom, like I was hit by lightning or something.
Okay, so what he's talking about there is that instant like understanding of the language without having to do any processing. You can actually easily get this external to a method like this. So you just basically build audio cards with the words that you're wanting to learn, and you just listen to them. And you listen to them and you'll get the same effect eventually. Because basically what happens with a CI methodology is it just draws it out over a very long period of time, and you just keep hearing it here, there, and there. But you can actually, you know, do targeted listening.
I still agree with that statement. You can still do targeted listening. I've got videos on my channel on how to do it with flashcards. Obviously, you don't have to do it with flashcards. You can do it with, like, anything else. Anything that... Because, like, what Dreaming Spanish is it's, like, a very specific type of CI. There's no subtitles or anything like that. Like, even targeted listening with subtitles, I believe, would be a lot better. But... yeah, anyway.
Instantly understood. There was no pause, no translating. It was like it was said in English. But if English was Spanish, and I was fluent in Spanish, if you know what I mean. So from that point on, I was sold on the idea of massive amounts of input without trying to break down all the nuts and bolts. My only job will be to...
I know this will work. Like, I've seen people actually use this method before. It'd just be very inefficient. However, for me, it might be actually less inefficient because I've got a ton of cognates, and also I know the grammar of Esperanto, which basically replicates Spanish grammar in a lot of ways. So this will probably be a lot faster for me.
Now, for those who are wondering how I could say it replicates Spanish grammar without having studied Spanish before, because obviously I've spoken about the fact I don't understand Spanish grammar. It's because I've had a lot of students in the past when I've taught Esperanto who have spoken about learning Spanish, and they've said that there's so much crossover between the two languages. So this was coming from a place of hearing from other people as opposed to a place of myself studying, although I had studied Latin before. So I understood, you know, Spanish as a language that evolved from... Did it actually evolve from... yeah, it did. It's a Romance language, so it evolved from Latin. And its grammar was very, very similar to Esperanto. That was just like some assumptions I was making.
Try and understand the videos by Pablo and the team. Now, I made it my goal, first of all, to watch every Dreaming Spanish video. And after a while, I changed that so that my goal was to watch all of the videos from speakers from Spain. And the reason being, I felt that it would help my understanding of grammar if people were sticking to using either vosotros instead of ustedes, which varies depending on where the speaker's from. If you're watching TV or listening to podcasts or anything...
I agree with the guy who's got hair as well. Why are you not agreeing with him? Okay, you got listening to one accent for the vast majority of your journey is a good idea. If this thing is happening that we're talking about, developing this internal model, then you're obviously going to be developing an internal model based around one specific accent of the language, okay? As opposed to, you know, getting this scattered understanding of multiple different accents, which in some cases, grammatically and in word choices for common words can be quite different.
like that. The speakers could be from any Spanish-speaking country. So
and I think this kind of happened with me. Like in my 1K video, so I said something about, like I was trying to say thank you, and I said, I think it was gracias, and people went down in the comment section and they were like, why is he adding a T in there? What's going on? And I literally just did a crosstalk session where I was playing with someone from Spain, and I noticed that they kind of make that middle part like a T sound, like a TH sound, okay? As opposed to, you know, someone who's down in Argentina. I hate that word, man. Where it's like Gracias. Gracias. Okay, so I think that's right. But my point being is, I think what's happened is my brain has heard both accents quite a bit and that word, and it kind of just fucking merged those words in my brain. When it came out as this like weird freaking child of the two.
So being used to both is still a necessity, though if you speak it kind of makes sense to use either one or the other, which is why I later decided on to focus on the Spanish from Spain. Let me take you through my experience right from the beginning. I saw the YouTube channel and jumped straight in, and I went to the website and I signed up and got the premium content too. If you're not a premium user, let me say this, the experience is way better on the website. It's not simply that it has more content, but there are a lot more features that really help to improve the experience. So once you're on the landing page, you log on and you're greeted with the
So I guess I'm going to have to get premium.
watch page.
Bro, you're gonna have premium probably for the rest of your remaining life at this point.
There are a ton of filters here where you can watch videos depending on the level you're at or the topic you're interested in, the accent you might want to hear. So I love going through Sandra's, Alma's and Pablo's videos. It really feels like...
I guess I'd probably be more focused on South American accents, because if I imagine I'm actually going to travel anywhere and use this language, which is pretty unlikely, I would probably go to South America.
over
It's interesting. So here I was making a logical choice, and that logic still applies to this day. However, the accent I ended up going for, the Argentinian... I hate that word, man. So that accent, okay, we're just going to call it the bad accent. You know, the accent that I ended up choosing and going for was purely just based on the fact that I enjoy the sound of it. No other reason for choosing it in the end, okay? There was no logic behind it. And in fact, it's a bad accent to choose for me, because for me to go to that country, I actually have to stop in Chile first. There's no direct flights from Australia to there. I have to go to Chile. So I should have just learned the Chilean accent.
time you get to know the host, which is a bit weird because I've never spoken to them. I've watched some videos multiple times, and I don't know if that updates the total number of videos watched, but it's not really important. Basically, it still records your minutes in the same way. Something that is worth saying is that if you watch it through the website, there are no adverts. So if you're used to watching it on YouTube, the experience is going to be so much better through the website. And the website is configured for mobile too, so you have all the functionality that you have on your phone as you would have on the desktop anyway. The only thing I do...
I did like that about the actual Dreaming Spanish website, where it just tracks your minutes automatically for you. This is why I think it's probably the ultimate lazy man's method if you just don't care about getting there anytime soon.
notice
By the way, you might have noticed, okay, in the way I'm talking, because when I released this video, this was the first video, I had already signed up to Dreaming Spanish, I believe, maybe like a week before making this video, and already started learning this process. So my thought was, I will do 50 hours. If I don't do 50 hours, then I won't release a 50-hour update. But if I do 50 hours, then this is a challenge I can actually do. So I was secretly at this point, behind the scenes, doing the challenge already. The first video just hadn't dropped.
this is that sometimes the autoplay doesn't seem to work on my phone in the same way. I don't know if it's my phone or what, but you have to sometimes tap play to play the next video, which is not the end of the world actually. But if you're watching more of the advanced videos, I'm often doing something else at the same time, like cooking or something like that. Something I don't have to think that much about. But it does mean that if my hands are busy, I have to stop and then go and press play.
Are you meant to
Yeah, actually, I'm going to let myself talk
be
then.
doing that? Because I'm pretty sure... Well, I guess if you're advanced, you probably understand everything you're hearing anyway, but like, isn't the purpose that you actually focus, like you actively just sit there and focus on it, that way you pick up stuff? But if you've got your attention elsewhere, you're probably not going to pick up new stuff, you're just going to like reinforce old stuff.
I still agree with that statement, especially now based on my own experience, that if you're passively listening, I'm sure you're getting something. It's like with anything, okay? But like, I feel like a lot of those... So passive hours are definitely a much lower value than active hours, where you're literally just sitting there paying attention. Although there is some activities you can do, like you can listen to a podcast while like watering the garden, because you're watering, you're just holding a hose. It's not like there's any mental load required for that. You're just like, this type of thing, okay? But, you know, if you're doing the dishes and stuff, I feel like that's probably a little bit more complex. And cooking, for me, would just be way out. That'd be too much.
In the year I've been using it, there have been like an absolute ton of updates, so I'm sure that'll get ironed out in due course anyway. You will have an idea of the types of content you get just from obviously watching the YouTube channel. There are different hosts and they will speak about different topics, which might be short stories, cultural events. Some of the topics can be a bit random, but I would say that your experience improves as your Spanish gets better, because the hosts are then able to talk more freely about the different subjects without having to rely on the visual prompts. So the super beginner videos rely heavily on the visual clues from pictures and drawings, and that means that you can start to understand Spanish without having to rely on any translations. And as you go through the levels, of course, eventually the hosts just explain new words or concepts in Spanish without having to resort to drawing any pictures or anything else like that. The super beginner videos are not as engaging as the advanced videos, but I think just focusing on picking up the language makes the process enjoyable.
I think the thing that's probably going to interest me the most about this method is actually just learning via the context completely and not having to actually do any form of like planning or active study. I know that obviously active study and planning is going to be way more efficient, but at the end of the day, I'm not really caring too much about this language. So it'll be a very cool experience to just realize after a while, oh, okay, so I know a lot more than I did before.
And you know what? It is a very cool experience. A very cool but weird experience. where sometimes you think you understand something fully. You're actually so certain you understand it fully, and yet you totally don't at all. And it blows your mind, because you, like, at 1,000 hours, okay, maybe this is different for 1,500, but like at 1,000 hours, you get all the words in a sentence, but you don't get the glue that holds it together, and you can make assumptions 90% of the time that are correct. And when I say make assumptions, I mean you're not doing a mental actual like assumption. It just, you naturally just believe that, okay? But sometimes those assumptions are completely off.
Enough. I think you have to try to enjoy the process of increasing your understanding initially, rather than necessarily finding the content fascinating. But ultimately, it's hard to produce content that is hugely compelling when you literally know zero Spanish. So in some of the older videos, the audio quality isn't as great, and
I know what they're talking about because I actually taught Esperanto using the direct method. So for those who don't know what the direct method is, it's basically pure CI. The difference is it's a lesson in the language itself. And I have an entire YouTube channel. It hasn't got many videos on it, but I think it's got like 16 or 17 videos where I taught Esperanto using it. It's literally called Esperanto Comprehensible Input. It used to be called Esperanto Direct Method, and that's what it uses. I changed the name simply because most people don't know the term direct method, and just comprehensible input's a lot faster to find. So I'm not against the methodology overall. I just feel like if you have like a desire to get to a high level within the language faster, then it's not the best method. However, there is lots of people who love to use like a CI methodology, and I'm not against that. And hell, like what I'm doing right now, I'm planning to use it for a language where I'm not too invested in.
not all the hosts are as good as the more experienced ones.
I still agree with the balding guy.
But with the sheer number of hours you need to watch, I wouldn't really worry at all. Some of the older videos don't have the same quality as the newer ones, but there is still something rustic and charming about them, and Evildea is still...
You know, I actually think the older videos are of much better quality. Even though they're not video and sound quality, they're actually much better because they're more akin to direct method in a lot of ways. Because, for example, Pablo will literally pull up a whiteboard and he'll talk about things, he'll draw it out, he'll make it as clear as day what he's talking about visually while you're listening. While the newer videos, they're like flashy, nice graphics, sharp, you know, on point, high production value, but less language value. That's my thoughts on the matter. So I actually prefer the older stuff, like even if it's just freaking Pablo on his like handheld camera.
Hilarious. Ultimately, the production quality doesn't really matter if the method works, right? Some of the early videos, by that I mean the beginner and super beginner ones, they are way more basic. But as a complete beginner, you can't expect to have hugely compelling content. But once you get to say like a more intermediate level, there's a lot more stuff to get with.
You know what's actually funny for me is that the super beginner videos so far have been quite compelling. Not due to the content, but due to the fact that when I'm listening, I'm like, oh, that's basically Esperanto. That's English. And then I'll be like, oh, yeah, that's Latin. Like, I'm listening to it and just like spotting the languages that I know type of thing.
It still happens to this day. Even to this day, every now and then I'll hear a word and I'll be like, oh, that's cool. I know where that's from.
Pablo did a series on the history of Spain, for example, which is awesome, and the Spanish in it wasn't too difficult. More of that for other Latin American countries would be great as well. Like the history of Mexico, for example, would be awesome to see. And I'd say in the future it'd be kind of cool to have some like more formal interviews or even some easier documentaries for learners. You also have the progress page. So I found this amazing, genuinely. First of all, the surprising thing I found was a benefit in it automatically just tracking your hours. Every minute you watch, it instantly updates the number of hours you've done. This gives you a little bit of serotonin each time you see that number go up. So yes, you could try and break down the numbers here a bit more and present it differently, but honestly, this is pretty simple and I think it does the job. You can scroll down and see the level.
I'm going to say the Dreaming Spanish website, design-wise, is fucking fantastic. Like, you've got just enough information there. They lay out their method to the right. Like, it's literally right. It's all there on one page, easy to access, easy to see. It is actually way better designed compared to, say, LingoPie. LingoPie's design is, it's not that great compared to Dreaming Spanish. Dreaming Spanish definitely wins in the UI department.
Below. So here it will tell you more detail on the level you're at, what you need to do at your current level, and also you can click on the others to see.
Ah, yes, the infamous levels. We have gone through these levels quite in detail.
One thing I don't think I'll ever do is the crosstalk, though.
Okay. Let's hear it. Let's hear it, Evildea.
I don't really have too much of an interest in crosstalk. I'm bringing it up because crosstalk is actually mentioned as part of the roadmap. But to me, I feel like crosstalk is actually just a waste of my time. So if I'm going to jump into a lesson, I want to speak the language and hear the language. So if they recommend, oh, you should be doing crosstalk, but you shouldn't be speaking yet because it can impact on your ability to speak this language correctly, then I'm just not going to talk yet. I'm not going to sit here and like do English with like Spanish in this weird hybrid mix. I'm going to do just Spanish or I'm not going to do it at all.
Okay, so my thoughts on this have changed. If you are following this ALG method, you should definitely be doing crosstalk. And I'm not sure how much, but the more the better, I would say. And in fact, it kind of annoys me now after getting to 1,000 hours that yes, they spoke about the value of crosstalk within these descriptions, but if you have a look up here, it's just hours of input, you know, 1,000 hours. I wish they actually said, you know, level 6, you should have already done 400 hours of crosstalk. to, you know, reach as per the descriptions or something like that. Because I don't know if crosstalk is the defining factor between, you know, whether someone hits what's described in these descriptions or not. And I came to crosstalk probably a bit later. I think I started doing crosstalk around 600 hours or something. I can't remember. Someone can like fact check me on that. But when I did start doing it, I was like, oh, okay, you know what? I do kind of enjoy this. And then I started doing more. And because I was doing it with something that I was actually interested in, it didn't seem like I was wasting time anymore. I was literally just having fun while, you know, listening to the language. And there's definitely a lot of value to be had in it. Because you can get instant feedback on things. You can ask for clarification on things. So it's definitely something that if you're doing this method, 100% you got to do, okay? I just wish Dreaming Spanish made it more obvious in the fact that they'd be like, because like, I've harped on about this, but if you go click on that view hours on platform, they split by talking, input, and then reading, okay? The talking, that needs to be split. That should be, you know, talking in Spanish and then talking crosstalk, okay? And it you know, you can choose when you're actually doing Spanish or crosstalk, because, you know, most people, they'll go through this hybrid period where they're halfway in between. But I feel like if they said you had to do this amount of crosstalk hours in order to hit these descriptions, it would probably help a lot more people be a lot more successful with this method. Now, I'm not saying that's the difference here. I feel like if there is a difference, that's where it is.
As you move forward. Now, I thought this was an absolute goldmine if you're a less experienced learner, and the advice is absolutely solid. What I found interesting about the numbers page was that you can work out where you're going to be in the future and at what time you're likely.
I really want to know how much crosstalk he has done, because he was, what, almost 900 hours when he made this video? And that would give me an idea. I'd be able to directly compare that to my own experience.
Likely to reach that level. That is, of course, providing, on average, you hit your target daily hours. You can see what.
One thing people need to be aware about with Dreaming Spanish, it's pretty much everywhere, is that the roadmap actually, at the beginning stages, is pretty accurate, but later on, it's not very accurate at all. Like, I've seen plenty of videos where people have done, you know, 1,500 hours plus, and they're like, yeah, no, realistically, I'm not quite where they say I should be yet, so it seems like the roadmap is probably off by a couple of hundred hours.
My thoughts are it's probably off by more than that, but it really depends on where the student came from. If this is the first experience with Spanish, is this website and this method, it's going to be way off. After the 300 hours. Prior to 300 hours, you'll be pretty much on point, and then after that, you'll start trailing, and then you're going to fall way off if you follow their method compared to the roadmap. However, if you have some type of formal study prior to this, or even like with apps and stuff, I feel like you could probably match up with the platform a lot better if you make some adjustments, you know, actually do the reading a lot earlier on. So this is based on comments that I've read on my videos. So the people who seem to match with the platform's levels, say at 1,000 hours, are those who start reading at like 300 hours, as opposed to reading at 1,000. And then they start speaking at like 600 hours. That's how you can match with the platform.
At least in the later stages.
Well, that means however many hours a month in total, which means in 2 months I'll be here, in 3 months I'll be here. And it also makes you realise that an extra 30 minutes a day can really, really rack up over time. I found it really motivating to be able to work out at what stage you're going to reach each level. There's also this section here where you can put in your own hours and do stuff like crosstalk lessons or listening to podcasts, so you're not...
Yeah, so he's mentioning crosstalk there. Yeah, I wouldn't be interested in that at all.
It's always funny when you go back and you watch something you said years ago with such certainty, and you're like, okay. Yeah, no, things went a little bit differently, Evildea. Who knows, maybe I'll come back at 2,000 hours and I'll be like, you know what? I was wrong about everything.
Fine, just using Dreaming Spanish videos, you can top up your total number of hours so that it's accurate here. So let's talk about the price. $8. That's it. It's such insanely good value for money that even if you don't use it all the time, it's still worth it. There are resources out there that are far more expensive and far less effective. I feel like in a review
Yeah, no, that's a really good value proposition right there. $8 and you get like a bunch more videos and stuff. Like, I wasted money on so many more things.
Should say something else about it.
Yep, still agree with that statement. It's definitely an amazing resource if you're learning Spanish.
But there's nothing else to say. It's just really good value. This isn't sponsored. I'm not making any money from this. This is just my honest opinion. There are an insane number.
I don't take sponsorships on this channel. Just so you guys are aware, I don't bother with that stuff because this is not my full-time job.
Well, that statement was true at the time. There was no sponsorships happening at that time. Things have changed ever so recently, okay? Obviously, Lingo Pie sponsorship and, you know, Worlds Across now also jumping on board. But, like, okay. Yeah, things have changed. And it's still not my job. This is still not my job. It's just, like, extra fun money.
To covering all the different levels in the language learning process, that is basically a map for you to follow, as well as the more detailed breakdown of the levels on the
So we've got level 1 starting from 0, then you've got, some common words, level 2. So what's this say? Like, what common words? So go home, eat cake. I reckon I'll probably get to that in like 25 hours just due to the fact of Esperanto, basically. And then you've got level 3.
So this was interesting. With the 50-hour update I dropped, I probably knew a lot more words than most people do at 50 hours due to what I'm talking about here. However, there was some words which say like Americans, you guys just get naturally from your environment, such as como, because you guys hear, como estas all the time. And I'd never heard it before. So it's like those like little grammar words, I didn't get any of those.
Is you follow topics that are adapted for learners. Okay. Level 4, you can understand a person speaking to you patiently.
Progress page. So what was my experience of the process? Yes, especially in the beginning, some of the content wasn't as engaging as I would have liked. But you have to think, if you've got a limited vocabulary, you can't expect to have a story where you're engrossed in it if you don't yet know much Spanish. So I'd say
that's a problem with like literally any language learning method. Like, it doesn't matter. You just got to grind through those initial stages.
First of all, focus on the novel.
Yeah, a big part of my Spanish journey has been me just grinding the hours at some points. Because it doesn't matter how much content there is. Sometimes there's just not the content that you want, or you're just fucking not in the mood for it anyway. But you got to push through.
Understanding stuff in Spanish and be content with that. First of all, you have to focus on the fact that over time, eventually, you'll get more enjoyable content, and you will. The method does take faith. You have to trust that your brain's going to figure it out, and it definitely will. I'm now using native material, which I can understand as part of my daily input.
One thing I do want to say is that, yes, this will work. It's just going to take a very long time as compared to, say, any other method of learning. But people then take this and go, yeah, well, it's not that bad. And then they try to apply it to other languages like Chinese. And it doesn't work like that, because Chinese has nothing in common with English. Spanish has a ton in common with English. And even though you're not actively studying, your brain is working behind the scenes. It's looking for templates, and it's seeing these cognates, it's seeing the similar templates within grammatical patterns between English and Spanish, and it's applying those. And then over time, it's like cutting them apart from English, and it's basically just becoming pure Spanish at that stage. But there is so much in common with the two languages that's why it works. But if you take it to Chinese, it can work. It's just going to take you probably 3, 4, maybe 5 times longer than someone who just actively puts in study as well as doing something like.
Okay, so when I made this video, there wasn't many people actually trying to learn Chinese, for example, via ALG. There's actually a subreddit now for it. And I get the feeling it's probably not 4 times, it's probably more like 2 to 3 times as long as a mixed method, obviously heavy on input with study, some grammar, whatever else you want to chuck in there, just freaking the whole kitchen sink. I feel like it's probably 2 to 3 times slower. And I'm basing that based on reports that I'm reading from people who are at 1,000, 1,500 hours now, because we actually don't have anyone long-term for Chinese that I've seen.
Obviously, I can't prove that. There's very few people who have used pure CI, and I'm not talking about Refold. Refold's not pure CI. There's literally only a couple of people that I'm aware of who have done that, or attempting to do that. There's one guy who's actually learning Thai that's using basically the same methodology, and he regularly posts updates. I think his last update was like 1,300 hours or something.
He was 1,300 hours. Is he still going? I need to check. Okay, so Nick Learns Thai YouTube. Is this the same guy? I think this is a different guy to the guy I was referring to. But he says he's at 3,000 hours. Okay, if you guys want me to explore this one in detail on the channel, let me know. It's a little bit of a side quest, so we could come back to this. Let me know down in the comment section.
Conversations he was talking about in his post were the equivalent of what I was doing at like 500 hours in Chinese. So you can see that there's already a very big difference in basically how long it takes you to get to a certain level using these methodologies. But again, there are no studies on this. Like, the perfect study would be...
Also, you might be curious, why was I at 1,000 hours at this time? Now I'm at 1,400 hours of Chinese, but at that time I was like probably 5 out 10, I don't know, 15 hours of Spanish, and now I'm at like just over 1,000. What happened there? Is this just because I can do more with Spanish? I would say no. The reason was that because you guys really enjoyed me doing a challenge from absolutely nothing. Well, I couldn't find any useful series to build out of my Chinese because I was already partway through the journey, and people like to see something from beginning to end. So I kind of readjusted and focused like 80% of my attention on Spanish and just started smashing started smashing Spanish, okay? And my Chinese kind of got pushed to the side where I was doing, you know, an hour, 2 hours maybe a day, but like usually like an hour or so a day. So I didn't progress as fast. Although now I'm pulling back a little bit on the Spanish and I'm doing 2 hours for each. And for those who are freaking out going, oh my God, you're pulling back on Spanish, why? It's actually because I have to now. So I'm pulling back because I'm doing speaking practice and I'm doing reading, and those things are just mentally exhausting. So I just can't quite do as much as I was before, because when you're just sitting here consuming, it's easy. You're just sitting here, you're just watching stuff. Okay, you don't need much mental energy for that. But you go do like an hour, you know, practice speaking, you're cooked. Maybe like in 50 hours, it'll just become easy and then I'll be back up to 3 hours. But at the moment, I've had to drop down to 2.
Tracked over a period of 10 years, you take, I don't know, 20 people who learn using active methods and then 20 people that use just pure comprehensible input, nothing else. And you see how they go after 10 years. But obviously, we're not going to get that type of study anytime soon. Maybe
I would so do that if I had the monies.
if this YouTube channel ever gets to like 1 million subs and I make enough money, I would fund that study.
And I haven't done any studying. I've made the mistake though in thinking that somehow being able to follow along with a video means that it's about the right level. The aim isn't to say, oh, I just about understood that advanced video, so now I'm at an advanced level, because if you only just about understand.
People also underestimate how much the visual cues help you to understand. So if you watch the video and you're like, wow, I understand a ton of that, put your hand in front of your eyes and just re-listen to it, and you'll notice how much you actually don't understand.
You're probably missing out on the stuff that you would pick up on if you had greater context for what you're watching. After all, it's not only knowing the words that are said, but you also need to pick up on the grammar implicitly, and you are not going to do that if you're struggling to understand what's going on. I think, and Pablo says this on the website, that you should try and watch videos that are quite easy, that you mostly understand, rather than trying to watch stuff that's too difficult, basically. So at this point, I have well over 800 hours, and I'm now moving on to using just advanced stuff for learners and easier native content, and I haven't studied at all. And that's largely thanks for Dreaming Spanish. So thank you, Pablo and the team. I've got into a habit where I watch and listen every single day, and over time, those hours have just racked up quite easily. So not only has this helped me learn Spanish, it's also cemented how I feel about language learning, and I feel like I've got a greater understanding of the process of acquisition for my brain at the very least.
Okay, now he has a follow-up video. Well, it's a separate video. It's not really a follow-up, but he's actually speaking Spanish in that video. Now, the reason I want to point this out is because I went and watched it, so it wouldn't be a complete live react if you guys want me to go watch it on this channel. But he actually talks about some of the pitfalls of this method after he's gotten to the speaking stage. And pretty much most of the things from memory, I agree with. And I think it would be very, very interesting because unfortunately, I won't be taking the path that he takes after he starts speaking because, you know, obviously I'm working within the confines of my own experiment. But if you guys want me to react to that video, let me know down in the comment section.
I'm still not speaking, so it will be interesting when I do. I feel like I'm hoping this is...
Yeah, so you can see there's already a problem there. He's still not speaking, and he won't be speaking until probably 1,500 hours from what...
I was under the assumption at this time that he would follow the ALG style of thinking. Don't speak until you actually feel ready to speak. And from what I can tell, most people who follow that type of thinking, they don't really feel ready until 1,500 hours. Like, I don't feel ready at 1,000 hours, but I'm just kind of pushing my way through it.
I've seen.
Given me at least a solid and natural feeling for Spanish, and even though I'm not speaking, I can now watch native content and count that towards my daily hours of input, which is amazing because now I literally just watch YouTube.
But again, for me, that doesn't really matter. So I don't care about Spanish too much. But if I can get the benefit of watching, like, say, Hollywood movies or something in Spanish, at least then I'm getting some value out of it. In fact, that's something that really annoys me about Chinese, is that there is almost nothing that from Western media dubbed into Chinese. There's very, very few things that are dubbed into Chinese.
This is still such a goddamn problem.
But you go onto Netflix and literally everything's dubbed into the most random European languages like Ukrainian and obviously Spanish being a big one. But like that also always annoys me at the end of the day. I'll go click and I'll look at the dubs and they'll be like all these European languages, Japanese, and I'll be like, sad face, no Chinese.
Stuff that I would watch anyway, but it just happens to be in Spanish, and I'm acquiring Spanish.
Yeah, that'll basically be what I do eventually, is I'll just start watching movies that I've watched in the past in Spanish.
Yep. I did that. Man, I called out, like, literally everything I said I thought would happen, happened, except for the crosstalk thing. That's the only point I deviate so far from my original assumption, and also how long I think it would take to learn Chinese via ALG. I guess here I thought it would take longer. Now, based on posts I'm reading and current updates, I'm thinking it's 2 to 3 times longer. But overall, I predicted quite a bit.
That were originally English movies.
Without any effort at all. So in my opinion, this is what the future of language learning is going to look like, and I personally am very excited. So of course...
No, this definitely won't be the future of language learning. Like, I understand more and more people are interested in this methodology right now, but they don't realize how many hours realistically you're going to need to put in, even for a language that's considered simple, such as Spanish. So let's just go online and see how long...
Okay, I won't need to do that. We've done this exercise plenty of times before, and it's just me looking at the FSI estimates. But anyway, if you guys have enjoyed this video and you want me to do a react to either, you know, the posts that we saw or his follow-up videos, let me know down in the comment section. If there's anything else you want me to react to, also you can drop it down there or join my Discord. I forget to mention the Discord as of recently quite a bit. Yeah, I got a Discord. That's right, guys. Go join it. We got lots of people over there learning languages together and shit-talking me. I'll see you all in the next video. If you're not there, well, I assume you've just started your 1,000 hour challenge out of the 5,000 hours yet to do. I don't know how to end this video, so I'm just gonna stare into your soul.